Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good whatever it is, wherever you are, whoever you are, and welcome once again to Nerd Week Live, the weekly show in which we talk about nerd news that have happened in the past week since the last show. Brought to you by us, the folks here at Nerd Caliber. I'm Rodney Brown. I'm the editor in chief of Nerd Caliber. I am first person shooter on Facebook as a cosplay photographer, Burley _ adopter on the Twitters, as a tech journalist, and a bunch of other things. Joining me tonight is, let's see, how am I going to divide this up? We'll go in declining order of whiteness of beard. So, Greg, you would be next.
I don't usually have that sort option available to me, but okay. Hi, everybody. Greg Snyder, aka Wonder Llama. I mistakenly said last night that I was an associate producer, but I'm an associate editor here at Nerd Caliber. I'm just the associate. I'm just going to go with that from now on. Get a long trench coat and a gun, and we're good to go. You may know me as Wonder Llama cosplay and/or Wonder Llama photography, depending on what the mood takes me. Mostly photography these days. If you are in the greater Boston area and you're looking to do some interesting photo shoots, cosplay or otherwise, check out our website, redravenstudios.art, or you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, etc. We do a lot of stuff with creative set building, makeup, crazy photography. We got a huge studio in New Bedford, and if you're around this weekend, the entire studio, not just us, but all the studios, all the craftsmen, artisans, etc. We're doing an open house. So if you're looking for an excuse to get out of the house, it'll be COVID safe. Lots of cool uh, artisans doing everything from woodworking to woven crafts to painting, photography, everything in between. So if you're looking to get all your Christmas shopping done in May, Hatch Street Studios in New Bedford.
Cool beans. And since you guys are located on the south coast of Mass, it would be redravenstudios.at.
That
So, gonna make sure that's accurate.
Get up, kid.
And also joining us tonight is Mr. Not yet enabled with gray or a white hair beard, Lewis, if you would.
A bit more pepper than salt, but I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I still got a couple of years. I'm only 39. Don't try to rush me.
Well, like I say, then you've got your balance tuned perfectly because it looks like it's jet black.
Très bien. Look at that. It's lovely. I'm always happy to be here. It's fantastic to always come back and enjoy a conversation with my colleagues. Unlike Greg, I am a co-producer for Nerd Caliber. The name is Louis Correa. Crash a Stampede on Steam if you want to join me in a few games, especially on my Twitch. If you want to pop in and take a look at my Twitch, been mostly doing on Sundays, but looking to pick up the pace here a little bit. We'll see how that goes. But anyways, if you guys are out there in the comment section, by all means, chime in on our conversations. We are a live show. We like to see you guys come in and share some stuff with us. So we're always looking at the chat and participate. We love the participation.
Absolutely. And as you can tell, folks here at Nerd Caliber, we don't really rely terribly on titles because Lewis's title is associate producer, not co-producer.
We just make up our titles as we go.
Pretty much. That's actually pretty true. Manny, who was on the show last night, by the way, when Greg mentioned the show last night, that was our relatively new show, No Nerd Caliber, in which members of the team get together and talk about their top three or so things within a given fandom. And last night we were talking about our top three martial arts movies or shows. Because this Thursday we're going to be talking about, in full fat spoiler chat, the Mortal Kombat movie. The recent one, not any of the older ones. Although the older ones I'm sure will come up. Anyway, we've got a lot of stuff tonight. It's some pretty interesting things, some pretty awful things, and some pretty amazing things. I think in the chat so far we've only got Mariana Moron. Welcome to the chat. And I believe that's it so far. Yeah, that's what we got. So, moving on to our very first topic. That is a picture of John Barrowman as Captain Jack Harkness, the character he plays in both Doctor Who and led the team in its spin-off Torchwood for many, many years. That's actually from this last December's Doctor Who Christmas special, where he brought the character back after years. The news is that one of the worst kept secrets in nerd fandom has risen back up to the fore, and that is that John Barrowman has regularly done very inappropriate behavior, or committed very acts of very inappropriate behavior, particularly all through his run while he was on both Torchwood and Doctor Who. It has reached the level of awareness to the general community because all of the accusations over Noel Clarke that we talked about last week, who was one of the Doctor's companions for a good 5 years during the David Tennant run. I think it was 2005 to 2010. So this fact that John Barrowman would regularly do things like expose himself on set or to people in his trailer, again, has been known pretty much throughout, certainly the Doctor Who fandom, but like, nerd fandom in general, for years. He got called out on it as just sort of bad behavior back in the mid-2000s, apologized for his behavior in 2008. I don't believe he completely stopped it, from what I understand. In all of this Noel Clarke information, Luminous, welcome to the show, that came out in the last week and a half or so. One of the interviews he did, Noel Clarke did, at a Doctor Who convention, where he talks with other people that were on the cast about Barrowman's activity, particularly his exposing himself, at length. The conversation, I have no idea about Barrowman. Just sort of, again, that sort of rose up to the level of awareness of general media. So there are headlines out there that, Barrowman is alleged to have committed. There's no allege. In just that one interview, 3 people, all of whom were there at various times, some cases, multiple members of the people on that interview panel at the same time, have firsthand evidence, firsthand accounts of the fact that, Barrowman likes to pull his junk out. And that's horrible behavior. It got not swept under the rug. It got kind of just laughed off for years and years, because Barrowman is insanely charming. He's gay, so he's to most straight women that, pervy, fun, gay friend kind of guy. And it was just, never treated in the same way that, similar things or frankly, less obviously sexually, what's the word? Visually assaultive behavior than things like Noel Clarke is accused of. He just got the pass. Barrowman did. And, thankfully, we're at a point where that can't happen. I think. He's getting called out on it, and there will be consequences. It's just a matter of, we'll have to see what those consequences are. Throwing it out there for...
Yeah. It's I don't want to say funny, but it's not really the word. It's just, eye roll, ironic funny, that, when somebody like, I don't know, Kevin Spacey does something awful, or Jake Paul does something awful like that, they're a-holes and you don't really care that much. And there's like speaking strictly for myself, but I know other people as well, there's this immediate sense of like, oh yeah, of course, that doesn't surprise me at all. But John Barrowman is such a mensch. I've seen him at a dozen cons. Got one of the funniest stories of any convention. It's a long one, so I won't go into it. But Boston Comic Con a couple of years ago, he came out in a Zap Brannigan costume with, white kitten heels on. Funniest guy you'll ever meet. You don't want to believe it about them. And he's, it's hijinks. It's just, it's interesting to observe that reaction in myself and in other people. it sucks. I'm sad to hear it. I would have hoped that somebody who's uh, you know coming up as a gay actor of his era could not have been super easy. And I would have hoped that he would have been a little bit better behaved. Um, I guess the only mitigating thing you can see about this is that nobody's alleged any sort of person to person sexual misconduct or any forcing himself on anybody. It's mostly just whipping it out at times and places where he bloody well shouldn't.
Yes,
Again,
there's never
that's grasping for straws.
Yeah, there's never been any accusation that there's been any sexual activity involved with this, but there's plenty of accusation that he makes inappropriate contact with people. He sort of, and Lewis and I know somebody who does this or did this. He sort of whips it out and slaps it against things and people and arms and legs and so on. So yeah, so that alone would, I think, technically qualify as sexual assault.
Absolutely. Like his whole thing of like, this is, I did it for fun and joking around. Like I know people in the past that do that kind of stuff, and it's haha, you laugh in the moment because your reaction of, oh my god, this is fucking disgusting, doesn't always kick in immediately, and especially when you're placed in a situation amongst other people, you kind of don't want to embarrass a person, because in your head you're like, man, I don't want to be that person that ruins the party, and that's kind of like what he's going on and saying, like, well, I did this for fun and like I messed up. I'm curious if there were any allegations, because I didn't have a chance to look into it, from 2008 to now in terms of him doing that, because in 2008 he did the apology and like, I messed up, and if he didn't do anything from '08 to now that that was public or anything like that, or in general just not at all, then I'm kind of like iffy about this, because how are we gonna want people to be better, apologize and be better, but then continuously judge them nonstop over the years for the same old thing that we want them to be better for? Like, how are they gonna get better?
Yeah, I don't know. I've not heard any timeline for when anything else might have happened, except stories I know from friends of mine who were absolutely thrilled about it, by the way. A gay cosplayer in particular, who at a con in 2013 or 2014 was thrilled that in his, I can't remember the character, but it was very Conan Barbarian like. It wasn't Conan, but bare chest, tight leather breech clout kind of thing, that Barrowman grabbed his ass. And this cosplayer loved it. He again, he's a gay guy, loves Barrowman like so many people do, and always goes up to his table at a con so he can frankly get some grab ass. And Barrowman was at least doing that. Now granted, nobody's ever accused him of whipping it out at a con that I know of.
And that kind of makes me like, yeah, he did it, but also the person is consenting for it and wants it, like, is consensually asking for it.
Yeah, but it's still not behavior that should be done on the floor of a convention.
I know. I was working towards that.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Let's not jump ahead of me.
I'm sorry, my psychic thing, it failed for a second. Okay. But yeah, yes, that is a good point that you made that I stole from you.
Yeah.
Well, it's a good thing we all look the same.
Exactly. I'm going to assume you shaved your head under your shmata.
Oh yeah,
of course. Rodney, you just need to get some glasses. You can be part of the club.
He got them. It's just the vanity.
There it is.
They're a little dusty. Well, no, it's actually this latest prescription for my contacts doesn't require reading glasses. So,
there you go.
So when I put on reading glasses, oh my God, do you guys look weird?
There it is.
Like everything looks weird, but okay, I'll go with it. I'm a little uneven there. Okay.
Interesting. I'll shortcut this one, but
Oh,
so
sorry.
interestingly enough, Barrowman was telling a story about, again, at Boston Comic Con, about being in somewhere in the Outer Cape with his husband, and it was a nude beach, and they were both laying out naked on a nude beach, and somebody came up to him with a cell phone and said, "Oh my God, you're John Barrowman. Can I take a picture of you?" And he's like, "Absolutely not. If a picture of me nude on a beach ever got out, it'd be the end of my career. Um, take that with a total grain of salt or a large bag of salt. It's just a weird sort of contrast that he'd be concerned. He might have been sarcastic about it, or it might never have happened for all I know. But interesting that he would be very cautious and protective about a nude photo getting out when, by all accounts, dozens and dozens of people have literally seen his, unmentionables.
Yeah, I think going by the basis of let's say that actually that is true. It's one thing when you seriously want to protect yourself from people ogling you on the internet versus him and his, and I'm stating as like mentally for him, like he thinks that he's a joke. He's making jokes, whipping his dick out is haha funny. That's not. He's not thinking in like being naked in that respect. He thinks he's making something fun for other people to enjoy when people are not fucking enjoying his dick flapping in the wind like a flag.
And if this did occur, and it occurred after 2008, he could very well have been, oh my God, I just did the apology. If there's a picture of me now with it really just everything swinging in the breeze, that's not going to be good for my career. So he may have actually been serious about that. But anyway, that's enough
Maybe.
about John Barrowman and his junk. It's uh, intent has to be considered, but it can't be an excuse. And I know Noel Clarke's intent was literally to be an abusive jackass based on all of the 20 plus women that have reported him. And it's pretty clear that Barrowman's intent wasn't to be anything like that. It was to be the jokester. Um, but that doesn't make that kind of behavior right. So,
Yeah, and sometimes an unintentional intent leads to bad things.
Mm-hmm.
Someone sees John Barrowman whipping his dick out, and they think, and it's ha ha funny, and then they start doing something worse than that because they're like, John Barrowman whips his dick out, nobody says anything. Let me go harass some women. Let me go whip my dick out in front of other people.
who knows how much of Noel Clarke's behavior on Doctor Who was colored by John Barrowman's behavior on Doctor Who? Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a great point. Great point. Anyway, let's move on to a different topic because this is sad. And this is not sad. Um, it's not really my thing, but I know there are a lot of people out here are going to be really excited about that. That is from Dragon Ball Super. I think it's from Dragon Ball Super Brawly. But the news is there is another Dragon Ball Super movie in the works, far enough along that it will premiere sometime in 2022. It is based on a wholly new story from Dragon Ball creator Toriyama Akira, who's doing the character designs and even wrote some of the dialogue for it. So if you're a DBZ or DBS, whichever fan, that's big news, folks. Doesn't hit my funny bone, but like I said, there are plenty of people out there.
yeah, that's gonna be good because Super is incredibly popular. Like, especially for the DBZ stands or the DB stands, but like having a movie coming out, and especially with the Demon Slayer movie like destroying things in the box office right now. Who knows if this one will come out in a theater too? That'd be kind of cool if that starts hitting a stride there with like anime movies getting recognized and not being off the side in terms of like premiering in theaters and things like that.
Yeah, I'd be willing to bet on the strength of Demon Slayer Mugen Train that this will probably get a wider U.S. release than say just being dropped on Funimation or Crunchyroll.
Yeah,
And that's a good thing.
Like a lot of people tend to not like realize this fact or like not even understand it, but Dragon Ball has always been a staple of the POC community. Always, like it was. It's always been a large for people of color's introduction into anime way back when has always been Dragon Ball Z. It is incredibly popular in our communities just for that. Like part of the reason why it was airing on Adult Swim and Cartoon Toonami and all of that is because of how many watchers were coming from POC.
Yeah, I have no doubt that's true. I know I see pretty regularly people of color cosplaying from Dragon Ball and Naruto, and some of the big shonen classics.
Yeah, which all aired on Toonami.
Yep. Speaking of anime and anime news, that image that just popped up on your screen is a cosplayer cosplaying Albedo, one of the guardians of Nazarick, the residents of Ainz Al Ghun, the main character of the anime Overlord. And the news is that Overlord is going to be getting a season 4, with no specific time as to when it will come out, but also that they are working on a theatrical length movie, speaking of anime movies, which is, according to this, going to depict the Holy Kingdom arc from the light novels that the series is based on. It doesn't say, as you go through the article, it doesn't say what the season 4 will summarize, if it is going to match a particular arc in the light novels. And so far, I believe they have. I haven't read any of the light novels, but I have seen all 3 seasons of Overlord. It's an isekai with a kind of a twist that has been picked up since this premiered. But, guy who's like the best, absolute best in the best, most amazing guild in this MMO, and winds up getting trapped in the MMO as it sort of turns into a real world as it's being shut down. He's like the last player character in it. But he has all of the god level abilities that he's acquired over the years and years of playing this and being, one of the best play, if not the best player to ever play it. And it's a very interesting, at times very funny, at times very disturbing. They set it up that as he goes along, as he becomes more and more a part of this world and interacts with it more, as it's become a world and not a game, his character is essentially a skeleton, a lich demon lord thing, big skeleton guy. He loses touch with his humanity progressively over the course of season after season, finally resulting in the 3rd season, he takes on some adventurers who are trying to break into Nazarick, his big fortress, and what he does to them is pretty straight out of some of the scariest Japanese horror movies.
Really?
It's pretty creepy. But anyway, it's a very interesting series if that's your sort of thing. And I'm looking forward to season 4 whenever it happens. And I'm gathering neither of you are Overlord fans.
What gave that away?
The dead silence.
Yeah, the minute you said isekai, I was just like, is that a new like sushi roll or something? Like
what? It's a really, really good Japanese food.
It would be good. Yeah, no, isekai is literally means another world. So it's when a character goes to another world. Going all the way back to Inuyasha is technically an isekai story. So that's basically all that isekai means.
The only thing I had from that is flashbacks to high school when there was a kid that would say things just like you, and then we'd just be like, look at that guy over there.
That freaking nerd.
Yeah. He reads subtitles and thinks he understands Japanese. That kid.
No, I read subtitles because I read faster than I read very fast and appreciate the Japanese voice acting usually better than the English voice acting. Um, there are some amazing dubs. Cowboy Bebop is an amazing dub. But yeah, anyway, that's enough of that. Moving on, this is Ali Wong with Randall Park. This is from Always Be My Maybe, this has nothing to do with Always Be My Maybe. What this has to do with the fact that Ali Wong has been cast in the upcoming Amazon adaptation of Paper Girls, the Brian K. Vaughan and Cliff Chang comic series about a bunch of middle school girls who wind up getting involved as they're delivering their papers. They are paper girls. On Halloween Eve, they wind up getting involved in a war between time-traveling factions from the far future. It's, you know, we talked about this when they cast the 4 lead girls, I think it was 2 weeks ago. The cast Ali Wong is going to be playing the adult version of one of those girls, who she runs into at some point. There's a fair amount of, let's just call it, interpersonal drama about how their lives turned out. So, I like this. Ali Wong is hilarious. Another reason why I'm really looking forward to this. Sorry.
That sounds like a lot to me. I mean, I'll watch it because that's right up, that's my wheelhouse. But I'm just like, man, just your explanation alone, I'm just befuddled. Like, how's this is gonna function?
So think of it as Stranger Things meets the time travel parts of Umbrella Academy.
That would be a perfect example if I ever saw Stranger Things.
So there you go.
You watch Stranger Things?
So I'm guessing you're not going to have a lot to say about our final topic.
That could be a strange thing.
That would be a strange thing. I don't recall when we talked about this the last time, if we gave any idea about when this show premieres. It's not in this article. And they just cast the lead, so I'm assuming it's not going to be any earlier than 2022.
Yeah, I don't think the last time when we had a discussion, there was a timetable for it.
Yep. But this did sneak in some interesting other news in the animated world again. Not necessarily anime. So Ali Wong was the voice of Birdie in the very popular Tuca, well, not very popular, very well-reviewed series Tuca and Birdie, which only ran 1 season and then got saved by Adult Swim and is going to have a 2nd season. And I didn't know that.
No, neither did I.
So for all you Tuca and Birdie fans out there, and I know there are some because it was like the sort of underground, super hip, man, this is funny, if you don't want to be quite as existentially destroyed as you would by BoJack Horseman, just sort of mildly existentially destroyed, watch this one. Luminous sounds great, talking about paper girls. I assume I can't get enough of time travel stories. I agree. I think it's one of my favorite anime. Steins Gate, streaming series, Travelers. Oh, so good. Rosarine Silva, oi oi oi, welcome to the show.
I was a huge fan of BoJack Horseman. It was bleak, it was deeply existential, but it was always funny, and it always found some kernel of truth. It wasn't just irredeemably awful. And I really wanted to like Tuca and Birdie. There's great people behind it. It's very similar animation style. I watched the first episode and a half, and it didn't grab me. Wasn't for me.
That's okay. It happens.
Your mileage may vary.
Exactly.
But given that there were people who were super fond of it and were pretty sad when BoJack got 5 seasons, 6 seasons, probably one of the only Netflix shows to get past that dreaded 3-season mark or 2-season mark. Tuca and Birdie got canceled after one season, and there were a lot of people I'm sure are going to be psyched to get it back.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, we have fans within our team. You know, when I posted this in the group, there were a couple of people who went, "Oh my God, yay!" So good for them. All right, moving on to our next. We're talking about a new comic book adaptation. This image right here is the cover to issue number 1 of the comic series Ladykiller from Dark Horse Comics. The picture next to it is actually a picture I took way back in 2015 when this comic first came out of Abby from Human Sushi Cosplay cosplaying as this character, Josie Schuller, the main character of Ladykiller. And as soon as I looked up an image to get an image for this show, I saw this cover and went, "Oh my God, I've taken this picture as a cosplay," and had to dig it up. In fact, actually, I knew, even though I couldn't remember what it was from, I knew the dress and I knew exactly who was in it and when I took it. The series will be coming to Netflix. It'll be written by Diablo Cody, starring Blake Lively. And the story is this, woman on the cover that you're looking at here is Josie Schuller. She is, by all appearances, typical 1950s housewife. But she has a second job where she is a highly trained killer for hire, which she really likes doing. And the people who have seen this or have read the comic, I have not loved it. They said it was a great comic. It had a short run. It was a limited series. It ran to its conclusion, and that was it. So I'm not sure whether or not they're going to expand that out in the series or not. But I'm going to give this a try. I love the idea of the secret killer for hire. What is it? The Long Kiss Goodnight.
Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Yeah, just so many excellent movies based around that. This could be a good series. With Diablo Cody writing, it could be very funny.
Yeah, is it animated or live action?
Oh, live action.
I think it's live.
Yep.
Nice. I'm gonna have to write this down real quick and look up this comic book.
So they make a comment here at the end talking about how Dark Horse has done pretty well by Netflix. Umbrella Academy, of course.
Sure.
I didn't realize that the Mads Mikkelsen movie Polar was a Dark Horse comic. Although now that I think about it, thinking about the characters and the fighting, yeah, clearly it was a comic anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Dark Horse has a lot of sleepers because they've always been willing to give creators a chance to really write fantastic stories that don't have to do with the big two.
Yep.
And so they've been optioning off a lot of stuff recently for movies.
Yeah, them and Image. I mean, Image with, of course, Walking Dead and now Kirkman's, Invincible.
And there was 2 other ones. I can't remember the second one. That was one of my best friends is in love with that. But the fourth one is Lazarus by Greg Rucka, and that's an amazing series. I mean, I have one of the shirts. Actually, one of the shirts from one of the soldier groups in Lazarus. Every time I wear it, I always have veterans coming up to me thanking me for my service, and I'm like, no, I didn't. This is a comic book shirt. I'm sorry that it looks so real, but this is just a comic book shirt.
Well, thank you for not tying into the stolen valor. So even if it's other people trying to put it on you. All right, so moving on to our next topic. This. I love this image. I love the little teaser they did for this. This is a teaser, an image from a teaser that was put out for the upcoming Muppets Haunted Mansion Halloween special coming to Disney Plus on, I'm assuming, somewhere around Halloween. And I just love the idea that they're finally doing, a Halloween special. The thing I love the most about this is that Pepe, the prawn, that literally has to be
Dwayne Johnson's outfit.
An homage to Dwayne Johnson. Absolutely. That there's no question. And I love that. I think it's hilarious.
Like if he has a fanny pack and acid wash jeans, and yeah, that's 110%.
I don't recall seeing them. You do see a little bit more of his torso, but not much. Um, but it's a funny bit, and it looks like it's going to be a funny special. I'm pretty stoked about this. No Muppet commentary.
Uh, I mean, what's there to say? It's the Muppets. It's a Halloween special. I don't know how much of it's going to be. I mean, it says Haunted Mansion, so hopefully, I mean, it's on Disney Plus. Hopefully, there's some actual overlap there. Because I mean, who am I kidding? I'll watch it even if it's just all of them wearing, jack-o'-lantern hats and running around on a soundstage.
As a kid, I never had the luxury of ever seeing anything Muppets, and as an adult, I think I watched one thing once, and I was just like, like I don't hate it, but maybe the magic is not there for me as an adult.
Yeah,
because I didn't have the chance to grow into it and have the nostalgia, which for me I always feel like is a loss. But if anybody else likes it, man, like have at it, man. Enjoy, man. Nowadays, enjoy whatever the hell you want, and within reason and legality.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I see that. I get it. If you ever get a chance, just look at the fairly lengthy. It's on YouTube. Bloopers reel from Emmett Otter's Jug Band's. It's just literally it's them trying time and time again to get this one skit in which a barrel rolls or barrel lid rolls, and because the guys running the puppets and Frank Oz is one of the voices, and the brilliant Frank Oz, Yoda, and everything else, they just start riffing on the mistakes as they happen, and it's hilarious. Just
I will say this: there is two Muppets that always made me laugh, and that was the old men,
Statler and
Wardrobe. They always had me in stitches.
Yep.
So, all right, weird question for you, Crash. Did you see the Muppets before or after you saw Trading Places?
After, because I saw Trading Places when I was you mean the movie with Eddie Murphy, and I saw that when I was in my teens, and I saw Muppets when I was in my 20s.
Okay, because the Don Amici and what's his face? Why can't I think of the name? The two brothers that run the trading firm. God, I'm old.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about because they showed up in.
They're basically Statler and Waldorf. For all intents and purposes.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I can see that.
All right, moving on. Our next topic, which has nothing to do with Muppets, although one of them kind of looks like Statler or Waldorf. So that is Richard Madden. Everybody knows him as the very tragic Robb Stark from Game of Thrones, and Brian Cox from like everything, in which he's awesome always. And apparently Amazon is going to be making a TV series based on a science fiction podcast series that these two have been doing for, I guess, a while now. Debuted in late December 2020, so a few months now. But it peaked at number 2 in the Apple podcast charts. Story is the aftermath of a historic reunion when astronaut Eddie Fitz, who's Madden, a spacecraft suddenly reappears in Earth's orbit after having gone missing for 35 years earlier, looking exactly the same age as he left, except Brian Cox is his identical twin brother. And that hooked me right there. Love the idea, love that science fiction-y concept. And again, anytime you play around with time, and in this case it's actually, justified by physics time, maybe. Depending on how he gets to and from wherever he got lost. I'm in. And with these two actors, Yes, please. 100%.
Sounds funky.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing something like that, to be honest. Like, podcasts don't work for me, like in an auditory sense. I could never focus enough to like hear them. So anytime I see like a podcast that everyone raves about that's like going to be turned into a show or a movie, I'm like, man, that's the first damn thing I'm gonna watch. Like when Critical Role was like a comic book, is a comic book, and it will be some animated shorts sometime relatively soon. Like I'm all in for that because I love the concept, but I cannot watch it and I cannot hear it because I just start wandering.
Yep. Yeah. Now, this is a scripted podcast series, so it's essentially like a radio play. And those I can, like the original BBC Radio Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is just perfect.
Well, it's like I tried to watch that Welcome to Night Vale or listen to Welcome to Night Vale, and that same thing. Like I just there's like a weird auditory thing where the minute I start listening to it, like I just it's like a bear charging at me, and I'm pretending I'm dead. Like I just my brain doesn't want to process it.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that with something like Welcome to Night Vale. You've got so much what I would call filler because the concept is a radio show. So you've got to get that filler of it, making it sound like a legit radio show before they start telling the weird stories. And yeah, that could be tiring, I would think. But I'm very keen on it. No word on when this is going to happen. There's a little bit of stuff down at the bottom here, but the dates are about the Eternals, which Madden is in, and Cox is apparently writing a biography, which is going to get published in 2022. So, but nothing about the show.
Interesting.
Speaking of the Starks and the other denizens of Westeros, we finally got to see our first look at the upcoming House of the Dragons, the prequel to the stories that were in the Game of Thrones books and the TV series. That picture on your screen right there is Matt Smith, speaking of doctors, and Emma Darcy. But we also have pictures of Rhys Ifans and Olivia Cook, of Steve Toussaint. Costumes look great. The setting is very oceany.
Wasn't Cape on Cape? Didn't we shoot there a couple of years ago?
I swear to God, this looks like Cape Cod, folks. If you've never been
really
to Cape
does.
Cod,
This could be any one of a number of Eastern Shore, Cape Cod.
Actually, specifically the heights of those, and this is Indian Neck Beach on the bay side. If you go look up on Nerd Caliber, Misty and Pokemon, you can see the photo set for that, or here on YouTube, Misty and Pokemon, and you can see the video of the skit that we did on Indian Neck Beach, and it looks just like this.
Nice.
Some of the other pictures look rockier. It looks more like Dragonstone, the island that the Targaryens first landed on, and that they held until the Baratheon rebellion, and ultimately Stannis wound up with it.
Maybe they couldn't afford Ireland and Iceland anymore, and they've got to shoot in the Outer Banks of North Carolina.
Got to cut the budget down a little bit with those wigs.
Matt Smith in his stylish lace front platinum blonde Targaryen wig.
Yeah, baby.
Although he looks a Targaryen, boy.
Yeah, that he does.
He's got that.
Curious as all get up.
Yep, he's got that Rhaegar and Viserys. They all look like that, and he's nailed it. So, or the costume and makeup people have nailed it. Let's put it that way. But yeah, so looking forward to this very much now that we've finally seen some of the stuff. And yet again, because it's part of the entire massive development deal that um, that George R. R. Martin has with HBO Max, book when? Never.
Listen, just get your name in the hat for ghostwriting it when he's gone.
I have literally no publishing experience in fantasy, but I'll try.
It's all the same.
It's all exactly fantasy, tech, business news coverage, general reporting. It's all exactly the same.
Yeah, exactly. As long as you don't write another Slime Million, you're good.
Exactly. I've done ghostwriting before, but it's literally all for tech CEO blogs, so not quite the same thing.
So close. So close.
So close. So close. Almost there. All right, moving on to our next topic. I'm super pumped about this. That is Hannah John Kim from her role in the series Killjoys. You may also remember her probably a little bit better from her role as Ghost in the Ant-Man and the Wasp movie, if you're an MCU fan.
Nice.
Hannah John Kim has been cast to play Red Sonja in the upcoming Millennium Films adaptation of the Dynamite Comics run of Red Sonja. And yes, please. One, I don't know that it's going to be based on Gail Simone's writing, but the implication is that it could very well be, because Gail Simone's stories generally took place prior to her introduction in the Conan world when she was created at Marvel Comics. This is not a Robert E. Howard creation, for those who don't... unlike Conan, Robert E. Howard wrote those books back in the 30s. Red Sonja was created by Marvel Comics to be a spin-off of Conan. But yeah, great casting. Clearly somebody who knows how to do both nerd work and action nerd work. If you've ever seen her fights as Ghost, or her work in Killjoys, and I love the fact that she is definitely not of your basic red-headed white ethnicity. Bonus points for that casting.
Oh wow! And she did the voice of Naya in Dark Crystal.
Yes, and was in a couple of Black Mirror episodes. Yeah, she's got a really good.
Wow, I'm just looking through her CV, and there's a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, really good nerd stuff in there. So I think
do they have when they're going to start, when it's going to come out?
No, they just announced the casting, which is actually sort of the first news about the fact that it really is happening. It's been in the hands of Millennium Films for a few years. And like there was a rumor that I can't remember who was the rumor that they were going to cast somebody a few years ago, but there was a rumor back then. So I'm guessing having just cast somebody, it's probably still pretty early in development. But let's see if they get us any other information about the movie itself, like who's actually writing it.
I'm looking forward to seeing that armor, man. Are we gonna keep it with the titty armor? Or are we gonna go like some hybrid? Are we gonna have the titty armor and then give her some practical armor that actually works? I'm kind of like, I want to see how it plays out, man.
I can't find the link to that article here. Who's picking this up? Is it Netflix? Is it Universal? Is it one of the bigs?
Theatrical release, as far as I know. It doesn't say for sure, so Millennium Films is making it.
Yeah, I found it.
But I would assume...
It's interesting, Rodney. You obviously know the specific comics run that this is adapted from. What was her outfit like in that? Do you recall?
She has, aside from minor tweaks of it, never worn anything as an adult warrior other than the scale bikini.
Okay.
There have been, minor changes to that. There's been additions of like animal
Leather.
skin cloaks to cover her shoulders. Um, Occasionally, like leather leggings at some point instead of just the armor, bikini. Basically, it's not even a bikini. It's a breech clout. It's just a hanging piece.
It's so standards and practices will let it go out the door.
Exactly. But yeah, no, even in the Dynamite run, that's her go-to outfit.
Okay.
So
it's the easily titillated boy in me loves the outfit, and loves all the phenomenal cosplayers that we've seen doing it over the years. But as somebody who's done just enough sparring with even bamboo swords, let alone an edged weapon, that is literally the last thing you would ever wear.
Yep.
If you are actually a warrior.
Yep.
I mean, for that matter, either version of Conan, Schwarzenegger or The Rock, he's not wearing a whole lot more than a breechcloth and a leather harness. So
the other Schwarzenegger was Momoa. I mean, the other Conan was Momoa.
Yeah, Momoa.
Momoa, sorry.
Yeah.
Same outfit, different wrong actor.
Yeah.
The last thing you would ever wear for something like that.
But Schwarzenegger in the Red Sonja movie had armor.
True.
Ooh, that's true.
Although I think he was at that point either.
He wasn't Conan in that.
Oh, that's true. He was Prince something.
Yeah, he's like the Baron of the West or some name like that. And
yeah,
he wore like a leather armored tunic.
Yep. Diamond Hollins. Hello, humans. Hello back to you, human. I hope. Not making any judgment calls. If you're an alien, that's demon, whatever. That's fine.
So that's funny. I just had to do a quick image search on that. So from the Red Sonja movie with Brigitte Nielsen and Schwarzenegger, yeah, he's wearing what looks like a suede tunic. It's not even like a boiled leather cuirass or anything. And she's wearing what anybody in a Whitesnake video would be wearing. Riding around on a horse instead of a Camaro. But
and that's a perfect time. We didn't bring this up, but rest in peace, Tawny Katane, who passed away this last week. Known mostly for appearing in Whitesnake videos, being married to David Coverdale, lead singer of Whitesnake, and of course, Bachelor Party.
She was actually pretty good in that.
Yes.
I mean, it wasn't exactly, a Meryl Streep kind of role, but she was well cast.
Yes, she had more than just be the sexy girl that, tries to steal Tom Hanks from his beloved. Diamond, how's life? Well, it's kind of a general question, but I'm gonna say for me, I can't speak for the other guys. It's going, as they say.
Hanging in there.
Hanging in there. Let's get the little
some springtime.
Get the little cat paws and do that thing. All right, moving on to our last topic, folks.
Last or second to last?
Second to last topic, folks. Almost skipped over myself.
We have a brain between the two of us, I swear.
Exactly. And thank God, when we're on, it works. That is it right there. There's your Carnage. If you are a fan at all of the Venom mythos from the Spider-Man part of the Marvel comic world, and therefore now the Sony cinematic world, you know who Carnage is. If you don't, it's another symbiote like Venom. Technically in the comic, it's a splinter of Venom that changes because of the person it attaches to. But anyway,
you can say child too, because the symbiotes are children.
That is true. Good point. But the news here is that the first trailer for Venom: Let There Be Carnage, which is the Venom sequel, which we were calling Venom 2 up to this point, dropped. And you really get a sense of what the movie is going to be like. They have gotten rid of the insanely bad wig for Woody Harrelson. going with a little bit more of a spiky red hair and more naturally looking red hair than the really bad early 1980s man perm that he had. And you really get a sense of what the tone of the movie is, or at least the tone of what they're showing you in this trailer. And that is pretty silly. You know, they play up the silliness more than they play up the terror of Carnage. And Carnage is way scarier than Venom in the comics, and therefore he should be. And you get a little bit of that sense just from, you know, the sheer number and weird effects of the tentacle tendril things that he can produce. But I get way more of the, you know, people love the first movie because it was like unintentionally silly, so let's intentionally lean into the silliness out of this trailer. Doesn't mean I'm not going to watch it. Of course I'm going to watch it.
I'm willing to give it the benefit of the doubt in that we're seeing a lot of the silly stuff, because when we see trailer 3 to 500, you're going to see more of the visceral nature of Carnage and like how murderous he is. And you don't want your first trailer to showcase all the stuff that we know or have a good idea about in terms of like what Carnage will do.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, they do show like this one scene where, you know, this building, which may be the orphanage that, you know, Cletus Cassidy grew up in, is like blazing on fire, and two people are walking out of it. One of them is clearly, you know, Cassidy. Yeah, so yeah, he may burn down an orphanage. So,
Who hasn't?
Who hasn't?
Yeah.
And that being the case, it seems I saw a breakdown of this on, I think it was Screen Crush. It looks like an awful lot of the elements that are in here indicate that the core of the story is the short run series Maximum Carnage.
Yeah, seems about right. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's that kind of tells Cassidy's background, right?
It goes into his background, but it's a kind of like a Venom versus Carnage story with Spider-Man stuck in the middle. And it literally just has him. Actually, a good example is Natural Born Killers, the Woody Harrelson movie.
Yeah.
Because in Maximum Carnage, Carnage goes around killing people, and his cult of personality is so intoxicating that other people who kill start joining up with him and like following him and like killing like him, you know, and like he ends up with like a gang of other superpowered murderers who just tagged on because he's killing, and he's like preaching this like you should just kill whoever you want and do whatever you want kind of like mythos, and Spider-Man is like 5 steps behind him.
Isn't part of that driven by him having with him, I can't remember her name, that character that looks kind of like Domino?
Typhoid Mary.
Typhoid Mary, who kind of has the ability to drive people insane and get them to kill each other.
But he's so crazy that ability didn't work on him.
Right.
And she ended up becoming like falling in love with him because of his cult of personality.
Yep. So yeah, you're right. It could very well turn out to be, you know, much more balanced, you know, with fright and shock and action and so on. And they just decided to show us, you know, this movie's equivalent of the lobster tank scene.
Yeah. If I only had one big critique about the trailer, it's always the same critique I have with like a lot of movies like that. Stop abusing green-blue filter. Stop. Cut that shit out. I'm so tired of blue-green filter. We get it. It's supposed to be a movie where people die. We don't need the fucking filter on it.
Yep. It's like,
yeah.
Nowadays, most even you know cheap bodegas, they've got LED lighting. You know,
yeah.
It's not all green fluorescents.
Yeah. And if God help them if something happens to that bodega cat, because that right there, you'll get the city. You don't want Puerto Ricans coming after you.
No, God, no. Yeah, I'm really on the fence about Woody Harrelson. I like him. He's a good actor, but I kind of have a hard time seeing him in this. It's been a very long time since he's been the menacing guy in Natural Born Killers. Hadn't thought about that till I brought it up, Crash, but very long time. And he's like the affable, chill stoner guy in my mind, more than he is someone as menacing and brutal.
I don't know, because not to interrupt, but he was not necessarily a killer, but he did have that like kind of brutal nature to him in No Country for Old Men. Did I say that movie?
No Country for Old Men. Yeah, good point.
Yeah, I thought of that. Yeah.
Like he was very methodical in that movie and kind of cold, like feigning empathy when really his whole goal was to kill like the other guy and the bad guy. I forget his name, Churro.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't remember. I know what you mean though.
Chigurh.
It's tough.
Anton
It's
Chigurh.
tough too, because
Chigurh.
Tom Hardy. I mean, Tom Hardy is Tom Hardy. He's so intense, and he's so. I mean, I'm assuming both of you saw Venom.
Yeah.
For all that it's a really cheesy movie, he's 110% committed to that role. And the schizophrenia and the multiple personalities of it, he's fully on board with that. I have a hard time seeing Woody Harrelson in that same sort of intensity, but I'll probably watch it. I know, I mean, Venom when that came out got just savaged by critics, and was it a great movie? No. Was it a fun movie? Hell yeah. It was an absurd, over-the-top, ridiculous bit of cinema. And it was very much a comic book movie. There's no Thanos, there's no Darkseid, there's no world-ending epicosity to it. It's just this weird, crazy symbiote thing. And to me, it was like the epitome of a fun superhero movie. Oh, well, superhero. Let's say comic book movie rather than superhero.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think a lot of like reviewers over review movies anyways, and they neglect that a movie can be terrible and fun.
Mm-hmm.
And they just like want to tear it apart because whatever, they like to like sniff their own farts half the time. I don't know, but like sometimes it could just be really obnoxious to like not acknowledge that something can just be fun. Like you don't need the great American novel in movie form to like enjoy something.
They don't all have to be Citizen Kane.
Like we were talking about last night, Bloodsport is not House of Flying Daggers, and that's okay. That's just fine.
It's good example.
You didn't chant Kumite like 1,000 times, and who are you?
Mm-hmm, exactly. And then of course there's Batman versus Superman, which was bad and not fun.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, let's not talk about that. Let's talk about Stranger Things 4.
Yes, let's.
So Stranger Things 4 Netflix dropped a teaser for Stranger Things 4, or actually 2 teasers, because the day before the teaser dropped, they dropped a teaser for the teaser. Kid Danger, I like Stranger Things. I do too.
Perfect timing.
And perfect timing. So last topic. You got in right at the beginning of it. This shot is from that teaser. It shows some of the kids that were in the same MK Ultra program that ultimately created Eleven's powers, or amplified them, or whatever. We're not really sure. Which at the beginning of season 1, 11 is the only member of that program. So something happened. And the implication actually, first, if you watch the teaser trailer, which shows, a clock in the facility at 3:00 and lots of blood. Then you see the actual teaser, that shot came from with all of the kids there. The implication is that something really, really bad happened to these kids, and maybe 11 was the cause. So it doesn't give you anything other than the fact that Matthew Modine's character, Papa, Professor Berman, perhaps, is back. Whether it's Matthew Modine or not, you only see him from behind. and it looks very much like they put a specialized wig to get you that Matthew Modine wedge head on somebody. But it looks, doesn't give you anything about the story, about like the other teaser that dropped months ago where you see Hopper in a gulag. So it doesn't give you any of the information about what's going on with Hopper. And neither of these teasers have given us any information about what's going on with the original cast kids. So it'll be interesting to see what the next teaser brings about and tells us about what's going on with them, or where they're at, or whatever happens. But it's enough to just really like, ooh, that's spooky. It looks really cool. What's going on? Oh my God, I hope the kids are all right. Well, we know they're not going to be, or we pretty much know they're not going to be, just based on the teaser. Made me very excited once again for another season of Stranger Things.
Yay!
I got a very Stanley Kubrick The Shining vibe from the trailer. The long haul tracking shots. Lewis, I don't know if you watched it, but if you're tired of sickly green fluorescent lighting, they go heavily with that filter on this trailer.
Oh yeah.
Yay!
Yeah.
Hooray! Hooray!
Well, in that case, I'm gonna say it fits. It's early 1980s. Industrial, institutional lab facility.
I understand that I was a child in the 80s, but I don't remember walking down a hallway and everything being green.
Oh,
that's because your eyes adjust.
I was a child in the 70s, and I do remember going to a couple of hospitals to visit older people that had that very institutional, depressing.
I don't think they had a green filter though. And you being a child of the 70s means that my background was fitting to what your vision was 90% of the time.
Your Great Wave or your color scheme?
My color scheme.
Okay. Because I wasn't the 1570s.
Yeah, the 1570s. Hope we get, Luminous says, hope we get more 1980s goodness in the upcoming season. I got to figure at this point they've got to be pushing pretty close to the end of the 80s. Because they have to, if they're going to be using the original cast at all, they have to justify the age. Oh.
Yeah, it's been, 2 years?
It's been 2 years. And they may actually do even further of a time jump.
No, sorry. I meant it's been 2 years since the last season. So probably 2.5, 3 years since it was filmed.
Right.
So, 3 years when you're, a 14-year-old kid is a huge leap.
Yeah.
For most kids, not everybody.
Yeah.
But
going to be 18, to their 20s.
Yeah, if you look at Finn Wolfhard right now, he looks like Ezra Miller. I mean, he clearly does not look like a teenager. Millie Bobby Brown could probably play down to 17. I don't know about any of the other kids. I haven't seen any pictures of them recently. But it's going to be tough to convince you that they're anything other than late teenagers.
I just hope we get another really extended oddball goth 80s warehouse series of episodes, because that was really the best part of the third season.
No, Robin was the best part of the third season. Robin was the best part of the third season, hands down, no question. Just the sassiest of the sassy.
Mm-hmm. So we ever going to find out what happened to Barbara? Is Barbara coming back this season?
No, I think it was made pretty clear that in the first season they found Barbara was dead.
Oh God, I don't remember. Probably.
Yeah, near some of the like the next to the last season or episode or something like that. They made it pretty clear that Barbara is not coming back from the Upside Down.
She's an ex-parrot.
She is an ex-parrot. Luminous, I want lots of new wave music. I think they're timing themselves out of it. You know, maybe they'll go into the early 90s and we'll get grunge. No.
That'd be interesting. I was obviously joking because that episode where Eleven like goes to the city and becomes friends with a bunch of weird goth 80s new wave. It was like basically new wave hookers, but they were teenage kids.
Yep.
That was hands down the worst episode of the whole season and completely unnecessary to the story. But yeah, I mean that was already kind of pushing towards late 80s, very late 80s. You could see it moving into the 90s at that point.
Yeah. Although that did actually set up possibly something about what we saw in the teaser, because remember, she runs into a girl who had escaped from the facility. And sure. In this whatever horrible thing, maybe massacre, maybe not, there may be others, you know, this may be the escape. So this might be when that girl escaped. It might be when some other people, you know, made it out too. So all sorts of possibilities there. I'm still looking forward to it. And again, it's Netflix. We have no idea when we'll see it. You know, July this year, maybe. They've dropped it in July. They've dropped it in September. They've dropped it in October. You know, I'm hoping for July again. But that's it, folks. That's our show. That's our last topic. Gentlemen, does anybody have a could we please or could we not?
No, I'm tapped. I think I hit all my my nails in the other times.
All right.
I got nothing this week.
I will just reiterate some of the things that are kind of right out there, and particularly Greg has mentioned this a number of times in the past. You know, stop Asian hate. It's just absolutely hideous to see. People are attacking Asian Americans literally just for the fact that they are Asian. So if you know anybody who's doing that, please, you know, report them. If you see any of that happen, please call the police. Don't get yourself personally involved for your own safety. Yeah, let's stop that. But having said that, and the last thing, which I always forget unless Manny is here to tell me, but I'll remember it this time. Please check out our Patreon at patreon.com/nerdcaliber. Just a couple of low dollar tiers. That's basically just there so that people who want to can help us out. We put the name of our patrons at the end of our pre-recorded videos, our other normal stuff from conventions and cosplay interviews and so on. And I think that's about the only reward we have. So if you want to, patreon.com/nerdcaliber, help us cover more cons when cons come back, please.
Well, just $1 a day. You can so nerd valuable.
In the arms of a stranger. Anyway. And that's it. Thank you very much for people for coming to the chat and giving us all sorts of good input. Greg, if you would give us a goodbye.
Good night, everybody, from the associate here at Nerd Caliber. I'm just going with that from now on. I'm owning it.
Okay.
If you're around the New Bedford area on Saturday or Sunday this weekend, stop by Hatch Street Studios on Hatch Street, New Bedford. Huge open house, 3 floors of artists, craftspeople, a lot of cool stuff. And stop by Red Raven Studios and say hi.
Cool beans. Lewis.
Once again, it's fantastic to be here with you guys. And people in the audience, thank you for showing up. Hope to see you next week. Have a great week otherwise. And
Thursday, again, full fat spoiler chat. Mortal Kombat, if you've seen it, or if you haven't but you don't mind spoilers, please join us. Jump in. We're going to be talking about all sorts of aspects of it. What worked, what didn't, did it have any tone, theme, messages, things like that. And next Monday is Anime Octane. I believe we're going to be doing the currently running anime To Your Eternity. And not to spoil the show, but go watch that thing now, please, 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 please.
Yeah, Greg.
Yeah, Greg. Or people on, in the audience. And then next, I don't know what our next. I can't remember what our next full fat spoiler chat will be next Thursday. So I'll let you know in one of our upcoming shows. Thank you very much, folks. Have a safe night and stay safe, please. If you haven't, get that vaccination. Get the shot for the rest of us.
Hey, my 5G is coming in more clear than ever, so it's worth it.
I got to tell you, I've turned my Wi-Fi off, my Wi-Fi router.
Yeah, you don't even need it anymore.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yep.
I gained the super ability to just find the most comfortable spot on the couch.
And I've gained the super ability to wish everybody